Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Stuarts Draft, and I'm leaving Waynesboro, Virginia right now, jumping on Interstate 64 and heading to Staunton. So I'm going to talk to you about Stuarts Draft, but I'm also going to talk to you about what was just here at this exit that I just jumped off of, and that is the Wildlife Center of Virginia. It's a wildlife rescue service, and they've rescued animals, birds, deer, anything that needed to be saved. They'll take care of. It's a great place to come and learn, see the birds, many birds of prey that have been rescued and saved there. So that's pretty cool. They've rescued baby birds and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I just had to mention that because it's real close to the interstate here, Interstate 64, and it's right here at Waynesboro. But now we're going to talk a little bit about Stuarts Draft. There is a house. It's actually in Stuarts Draft, and I love it. It is a historical landmark. It's called the Valley Home Estate. And I'm pretty sure it has a Stuarts Draft address. It may be Fisherville. It's right off the side of the interstate, though. You'd go to Stuarts Draft to get to it. But it's a beautiful historic house. It's now a private home. But back in the late 1800s, it was a seminary for ladies. So ladies learned how to be ladylike at this place. I just thought that was pretty cool. But it is a beautiful, beautiful house and estate. So I had to mention that. That's just up the road. I really thought it would have a Stuarts Draft, but it may be just a little bit past Stuarts Draft. I just figured I would go on and mention it. It might be actually Fishersville address, Valley Home Estate. Okay, so now to the rest of everything that I was going to talk about today, and that is Stuarts Draft. So Stuarts Draft is a town in between Waynesboro and Staunton. It has a population of around 12,000, but there's conflicting things on how Stuarts Draft got its name. It's kind of interesting, actually. There was people that moved here, and that was part of the reason why they have said that there's issues with the name. Because is it named for a person named Stuart? Is it named because of the draft? One of the theories says a draft refers to documenting a land sale. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. But they also say at this time period in Virginia, it was called a draft was an old term for a river or a creek. Well, that's interesting. And then there's a third theory that says a draft refers to a river crossing on Stuart's land or the South River itself. But the main guy, Stuart, that we're talking about, his land did not go to the river. So it kind of rules that one out. But another theory is it's just the plain on the south side of the river that tends to channel the wind, thus forming a constant breeze of draft. So Stuarts Draft, however you got the name, we do know it's because of the last name Stuart. So we're going to talk a little bit about Stuarts Draft, but mainly Stuart here at the beginning. So let's get to that. The first people to have moved here, the first people that were here were the Shawnee Indians, and then there was visiting tribes. The Catawba from the south and the Delaware from the north would come here as traders, frequent visitors. And then the European settlers showed up in 1732. William Beverly received a patent from Governor William Gooch for 118,000 acres of Augusta County. And at that time, that was the outermost limits of Virginia. Everything was considered frontier land to the west. So then Archibald Stuart, this is how Stuart became mentioned for Stuart Draft. Archibald Stuart, he was of Scotch ancestry, and he was Presbyterian. He arrived in 1738 and settled about 3 miles east of Tinkling Spring Presbyterian Church, which he helped found in 1744. The property was also known as the Pratt Farm, and then other settlers who purchased land from Beverly, that I mentioned earlier, William Beverly. In Stuarts Draft now, there was several others. There was a Joseph Mill, James Patton, John Christensen, John Coulter, Robert Alexander, Samuel Davidson, William Long, Finley McClure, Robert Moffat, John Black. Did I mention James Bell? That sounds familiar. Anyway, so they all started building. They were very agricultural here. Making crops were hemp, corn, wheat. And then Robert Stuart, hence the name Stuart again, operated a chopping mill. So that was cool. Anyway, Archibald, one of the first landowners here, had a son named Thomas who had purchased 353 acres that was adjacent to Archibald's area. Anyway, Thomas was married to his wife Elizabeth, and they had 9 children. And the valley, and that property had a valley or a cove, so they also refer to that as a draft. So could it be because of Stuarts Draft because of that? Maybe. There was fighting in this area during the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763. And Thomas Stuart died, and his sons were not living nearby. And his widow Elizabeth had left the area and left the land grant. So it ended up being purchased by John Harper in 1800. And back then, the roads were horrible. They couldn't even do horse and buggies. They were so bad. They were like horseback or a sled. No wagon wheels on these roads. So there had to be road improvements, and that started happening in the early 1800s. In 1837, there was a first post office. And the first post office was in the Thomas Stuart, the one that had died, and his wife had abandoned the farm, left the farm. The first post office was in his former house. So there's some interesting information for you. Anyway, everything continues on. Roads improve. The starting of railroad starts. Of course, the Civil War happens. Shenandoah Valley Railroad, 1881, connected Stuarts Draft to Hagerstown and onto into Roanoke. So it had ventured further on west. Stuarts Draft was attached to the railroad. Norfolk and Western Railway showed up in 1891. And then there was the phones in the first telephones were operational in 1897. And the Stuarts Draft School, the first school in Augusta County that did a 9-month term, was opened in 1906. So there's a little bit of information for you. Won't dig into any more historical stuff. That's enough to tell you about. But it's a cute little downtown. I wish I had time to just run through there for you, but I don't, unfortunately. It's one of those things you need to come down and check it out. There's it's beautiful scenery. Just a ton of beautiful scenery. Shenandoah Acres is nearby. It's a popular resort. So yeah, just pretty cool. This area is just a wonderful area to spend a long weekend and visit Staunton and Waynesboro and Stuarts Draft and um, even Charlottesville. Take some time and spend some time in these areas because it is beautiful country. Okay, well that's enough for this video. So this is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, and make appointments so I can help you book your next travel adventure. And if you'd like to learn more about Stuarts Draft or anything that I'm talking about, check out Wikipedia. That's where I pull a lot of my information from. All right, talk to y'all later.